All right, let's talk about a game that was a true tale of two halves. We're breaking down the Houston Rockets' visit to Atlanta to face the Hawks. And trust me, this one started out as a real nail-biter, but it did not end that way. So let's get into how this thing went from a dead heat to a total blowout. And that's really the million-dollar question, right? At halftime, you're looking at a one-point game. It's anybody's ball game. But by the time that final buzzer sounds, it was a complete runaway for Houston. So what on earth happened in that locker room? How did the entire script get flipped upside down? Well, that's the story we're going to piece together. You know, to really understand that second half, you got to understand the setup coming into the game. We had two teams heading in very different directions, which made this matchup so compelling right from the jump. So you had this classic clash, right? On one side, the Atlanta Hawks were just on an absolute heater, riding a 4-game winning streak. They had all the momentum. But then you look at the Houston Rockets, who, had the much better record all season long at 29-17. So it was this question of what wins, red-hot momentum or proven season-long consistency? And this is where things get complicated, because there's a huge catch to that Hawks winning streak. Their momentum was about to slam into a brick wall, because they weren't just playing a tough team, they were doing it seriously undermanned. Just look at this list. This is absolutely brutal for any squad. Their entire front line was basically gone. Okongwu, their starting center, had a dental fracture just the night before. Ouch. Then your key forward Jalen Johnson is out, and this is on top of already missing Hunter and Reece Shotcher. This was way more than a challenge. This was a full-blown crisis in the front court. So with the Hawks missing so many key guys, you'd think this would be an easy win for Houston from the opening tip, right? Nope, not even close. The first half was just incredible. It was a masterclass in grit from Atlanta. Can you believe that? 43-42, a 1-point game at the half. The Rockets were just barely ahead. Despite being so short-handed, the Hawks were scrapping for everything. They were fighting, clawing. They made this a real contest. You just know the energy in that building was buzzing. Everybody was thinking, hey, they might actually pull this off. But then, the teams came out for the second half, and everything, and I mean everything, changed. This is where the game completely flipped. It went from a close fight to an absolute domination, and it all started in one single quarter. And it was the third quarter. This chart right here tells the entire story. The Rockets came out of that locker room like they were shot out of a cannon, dropping 35 points on the Hawks. That's an 11-point swing in just 12 minutes. And right there, that's where the game was lost. The nail-biter was over. It was a total second-half explosion. For Houston, it all just started clicking. Their energy, their shots, their defense. And for the Hawks, you could literally see them hit the wall. That grit and adrenaline that carried them through the first half, it just ran out. Their lack of size and depth finally caught up to them in a big way. And Houston didn't just take the lead. They stomped on the gas. They pushed that lead all the way up to 20 points. And when they hit that mark, you could just feel it. That was the dagger. Game over. It was a massive statement from the Rockets. So, a comeback like that doesn't just happen on its own, right? It was fueled by some absolutely killer performances. So let's put the spotlight on the guys who really made the difference out there. And the guy leading the charge? Jalen Green. Simple as that. He was on fire, leading everybody on the court with a huge 31 points. When the Rockets needed a big bucket in that third quarter to really break things open, he was the guy they went to, and man did he deliver. But here's the thing, it wasn't a one-man show, not by a long shot. The whole team stepped up. Jabari Smith Jr. came up huge with 14 points. The rookie Amen Thompson brought some incredible energy for his 13 points. And look at Alperen Sengun. Yeah, only 9 points, but he absolutely dominated the glass with 13 rebounds. That was so important. And let's stick with that for a second, because this is probably the whole story of the game right here. Sengun's work on the boards wasn't just him having a good night. No, it was a strategy. It was a direct attack on Atlanta's biggest weakness, that injured, depleted front court. He was grabbing offensive boards for second chance points and ending Atlanta's possessions early. That's where this game was won. And you gotta give a ton of respect to DeJounte Murray on the other side. He did absolutely everything he could, putting the Hawks on his back and leading them with 23 points. It was just a heroic effort, even if it wasn't a losing cause.
So after all that, when the final buzzer sounded and the dust settled, what does it all mean for these two teams? Let's take a look at the final score and what it does to the standings.
And there it is, 104 to 86. That 18-point gap really says it all, doesn't it? A game that was tight for 24 minutes just got blown wide open. For the Rockets, it's a huge road win. And for the Hawks, man, that's a tough one. Their winning streak comes to a grinding halt. And this just puts it all into context. Houston improves to a really solid 30-17, keeping them in a great spot out in the West. But for Atlanta, that loss drops them to 24-27. And a loss like this definitely stings a little more because it just highlights how vulnerable their season is to these injuries. And that really brings us to the big question moving forward. For Houston, this was a job well done. But for Atlanta, it's a little scary. Yeah, their fight in the first half was amazing, but that second half showed just how hard it is to win in this league when you're so banged up. So, what do you think? Was this just a blip on the radar for the Hawks, or is this loss a sign of some really tough times ahead?